Hello, Jennifer.
Hello, Shannon.
Hey, guys, welcome back. What was it? Season 2, episode 4 of The Calling, The Forgotten Files. I am one of your hosts, Shannon Rogers, and we have Jennifer Lee. And my dearest friend, Stella, talked me in Colorado into purchasing this hat. It is out of my comfort zone, but I told her I would wear it tonight. So I'm wearing it. I have like flashbacks of people calling me Blossom when I was young and I didn't grow into my nose yet. But anyways.
It's adorable.
Well, that's what I was going for.
All right, it looks sexy. Is that better?
No, it's not even that. Just acceptable is good. Okay, guys. Hey, Joanne. We have a really good show tonight. So I absolutely implore you to share this out. This is going to be positive. I think it's going to have a great impact. We have Stephanne Cox coming on, and she is very monumental. She's an amazing person. She just in general has good messages, and we were backstage for like 30 minutes just vibing nonstop. I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to remember this or save this for the show because we have some really good stuff. And to talk to you guys about with a positive twist on it and with everything going on in the world and just in general with spirit and energy. And I don't know, she's pretty awesome. Wouldn't you say, Jen?
She is. Let's bring her up.
Yeah, I know. She's like, just bring her
in. Bring her in. Let's do this thing.
Hello.
Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
I am good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Good to have you back on again. You were on our first episode when we our premiere was about our mentors and everything, and you were one of my mentors, so you were on. And
oh yeah, I love this. This is such a good opportunity. I love it. Thank you guys for having me back.
No, of course. And again, guys, please share out because we're going to talk about really good fundamental core things that are just going to really resonate with some people. If not with you, maybe someone you share it out to. So please do that. I can't ask you enough. It'll be great. Hey, everybody. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joanne. Hey, Stephen. So for people that don't know, who are you, Stephanne, with an NNE?
So I am a spiritual empowerment coach, mentor, and a psychic medium. So what I like to do, I still do readings and stuff like that for people, but I also love to help them empower themselves spiritually. So I help them get connected to the universe so they can start getting their own messages. So they're not giving their power away to the world around them, because I want them to be empowered and I want them to know that they are fully capable of connecting to this energy, because we all are. They actually don't need me as a psychic medium. So I want to help them understand that they can connect to this energy and get everything that they need from it.
I love that. And that's really beautiful because we were talking beforehand, and I think it'd be easy to say that I've been in a negative place for a couple months, is just absorbing everything. And, I sat there and I'm like, Shannon, you have not grounded yourself in a long time, a couple months. You have not saged or used my tar water, more than demonstrating, actually done it with intent and purpose. And man, let me tell you, when I close my eyes, that little dark room, which I call my third eye, the dark room is where everything comes to me. The light came and I was like, okay, I feel this. And all of a sudden I was getting Post-it notes with questions and things to talk about tonight. Because I think, Stephanne, we were trying to get you on for a while past the first show. And it was just one thing after another. And I felt like the biggest bully or mean person in the world going, we can't do it today. And you're like, when it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. Well, exactly. Tonight, I think, is the perfect time, especially for the message we're going to share with everyone. And again, guys, share it out because I think this is going to be really great. And I'm excited.
Yes, exactly. I truly believe that everything happens in divine timing. Everything. Doesn't matter if it's a podcast. Doesn't matter if it's healing. Not at all.
Exactly. So, man, I have so many just questions and everything and comments. I'm like, I had literally Post-it notes everywhere. But so you are in Montana. I know you live outside of Butte. Do you do most of your work in Butte, Montana?
I actually live inside of Butte, and I do a lot of work inside of Butte, but I am online as well. So I teach my coaching classes online as well as in person, and I do readings online as well as in person.
And she's worth it, guys. I promise you. Like, she's one of my like go-to mentors for a reason, because you won't have a negative conversation. You won't get drilled about what you're doing wrong. She'll implore you about how to do what's right with what's right for you as a person, and she'll show you how to find what that right is. Does that make sense?
Yes. And that's how I've always been. For me, it's about supporting people where they're at, however that looks for them, because I myself don't like to be forced in directions that I don't want to go. So I don't want to force my clients into directions that they don't want to go and what they're not ready for. Because if they're not ready to heal in that direction, then all you can do is give them the baby steps to get there.
Right, exactly. And hi, Joe. It went into the personal chat, but Stephanie said hi, Joe.
I did say hi, Joe.
Because we were talking about that earlier, right? About having to be ready and having to actually take action with the knowledge that you have. And so, yeah, if you're not ready and you don't take the action, then you're not going to move forward. But
right.
The other thing about that is I'm with you 100%. People will move forward when they're ready.
Exactly.
So you have to meet them and you have to love them right where they're at.
Right. My guides have
nobody else can make that decision.
Right. My guides have always told me, Stephanie, because I've had people in my office where they're like, I want you to just heal me. I want you to fix me. And my guides are always like, Stephanie, unless they really allow it, like I can feel it. They'll tell me they want it. But at the same time, there's so much fear backing it up, because what if they do change? What does that look like for them? So my guides always say, just give them the baby steps, because you can't force anybody to heal. It's about looking at like, when people are alcoholics or drug addicts, it's the same concept. Unless they are ready to change, they're not going to change. They're not going to take that step. When they are ready, when they make that choice, they're aligned with that choice. And so that choice is a lot easier for them, as if instead of it being somebody else who forces them into that direction.
That's so funny, because on January 2nd, I quit smoking. Yeah. I work for an oxygen company. Like, I work, 95% of the people I talk to every day they're on COPD final stages of their life, and I was smoking. So I quit. But I had this conversation 3 times today. I was like, it wasn't deciding that I want to quit. It wasn't the actual act of quitting. It was the act of saying, this is the moment. Right. Affirming that this is the time, and putting it in my head that this is it.
Right. Exactly. Well, and even coming back to the fear when people try to start making changes in their life. And this is what I tell my clients all the time and my students all the time. It is going to be uncomfortable, because you're making those changes that you don't normally do. So say, for example, let's just make it really simple, like meditation. When people are starting into meditation and look at me and say, Steph, I can't sit there for 2 minutes, let alone 5 minutes. Because a lot of times they'll say, God, if you could just meditate for 5 minutes, 20 minutes a day is optimal. But if you could just meditate for 5 minutes, what happens is their body starts getting uncomfortable, because what is their body used to doing? Their body is used to getting up, walking around, answering. What's one of the first things that most people do? They pick up their cell phone in the morning and they look at their messages, right? So that's what they're used to doing. So when we start doing something different, our body goes, wait a minute, that's not what you used to do. Why are you sitting in stillness? This doesn't make any sense.
This doesn't feel right.
This doesn't feel right. You need to be up getting coffee. You need to be on the phone. You need to be perusing through Facebook and your Instagram account. What are you doing? Answering emails. Why are you sitting here? So for me, when I first started meditating, I really had to make my brain say, okay, no. And it's not really your brain, actually. It's your body, because your body gets programmed to do certain things. It's conditioned. So when you're sitting down to meditate, I mean, it's the same concept as if you're breaking the habit of being a drug addict, an alcoholic, or breaking the habit of eating or smoking or anything. It's about being repetitive with that action, because then you're retraining your body and you're retraining your brain. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, of course. To make change, you have to get out of your comfort zone and make the change.
You do. And it takes a little bit of work. I mean, from my own experience, in May of last year, I was diagnosed. I had a medical diagnosis that put me into a lot of fear. It was a lot of fear. It was to the point where I thought I was going to have to shut down my spiritual coaching business. I thought I was going to have to stop readings. And I thought I was just going to be stuck on my couch on oxygen for the rest of my life and die at the age of 50. That's what I thought. And then I remember my husband, he was so cute because I'm crying, and he looks at me and he says, Steph, what are you manifesting? And I remember sitting back and I went, oh my God, you're so right. This is what I'm creating, because again, where attention goes, energy flows, right? All of my attention was on this future that hadn't even happened yet. All of my attention was on my fear. All of my attention was on this medical diagnosis. So I started flipping things up, and I started realizing when I could feel that fear come to the surface, I actually would just stop and I would say, no, this is no longer who I want to be. This is no longer who I choose to be. This is no longer my identity.
Mm-hmm. I remember when you were going through that, and I'm just like, and you were so graceful about it. You really were on the forefront.
It took me 3.5 months, almost 4, to get rid of the fear, but I did it. And then I was able to breathe clearly, and then I wasn't on oxygen anymore in the daytime.
Isn't that amazing, though?
I know. So, I mean, we can change things with the power of our mind, but it's about us. What I like to tell people is it's important to honor yourself, because you're doing this for yourself. You're not doing this for other people. And it does take dedication, and it does take commitment. It really does.
And it also takes, yeah, like a conscious choice.
It does. Mm-hmm. Yep. And even for me, like, I run my clients and my students through what I call the conscious observer. So with the conscious observer, I teach them how to be mindful of what they're thinking on a daily basis, because it's not necessarily about thinking positively, because here's the thing. If you're saying, okay, and this is kind of how the law of attraction works too, which both of you ladies know, but it's like, if you're telling yourself, I love myself, right? Because maybe this is an affirmation that you're using every day. And I love affirmations, but again, you got to know what's happening in the background. The way we attract to us is by our thoughts and our feelings, right? So if we're saying, I love myself, however, in your heart, you're saying, but do you though? Do you really? You got to look at that, because that's not really coherent thought with a coherent feeling. And when you're sending that thought out into the universe goes, well, I'm getting mixed signals. You're telling me that you love yourself. However, the feeling that's behind it isn't correct. So it's about changing that up and really looking inside yourself and going, okay, how would it really feel if I truly loved myself? So you could match up that thought and that feeling together, because that's really how manifesting works. You got to have the thought and the feeling together, and it has to be coherent. But you have to be mindful of who you are inside. And like I tell everyone, when you are more aware of who you are, you have more power. That's where your power lies. Instead of giving your power, like, even say, for example, I work with one woman, and she came to me because she wanted to start clearing out her anger. She was so angry. And she looked right at me and she said, I know I'm a slave to my anger. And they said, well, let's change that up. Let's stop saying that you're a slave to your anger. And instead, let's say that you have power over your anger instead. Have power over it, because we're not slave to anything. We are not victims of anything. We are not helpless. We are not powerless. It's about us taking our power back from all of the events outside of us and coming inside of us to find our power, because that's where it really lies.
And what you just said, I think, when you truly love yourself, for a lot of people, even myself, that's sometimes is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even if you don't know how to love yourself, in the art of trying to, there is positive emotion.
Exactly. It's baby steps.
Positive energy in there. Like, it's just, I think probably 80-90% of us don't know how to truly love ourselves. And that's okay. That's life. That's the way it is. But to love yourself is to know yourself. So going through the steps of wanting to is how you get there.
Yes, exactly. So sometimes I'll ask my clients or my students, I'll ask them the question, how would you like to love yourself? Because society puts all these standards on everything, even loving ourselves, everything from having, being married to having kids to everything. We put all of these standards on everything, right? So, I mean, I want people to develop their own self-love in their own way, because there are some people, when they have, in their childhood, they don't really have an idea of or definition of what love really is. So when they get into their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and on up, it's about them defining what love is to them. It's a brand new world for them, right? Again, it's coming back to, it's going to be uncomfortable because that's not who you originally were, right? Yeah. And one of my favorite authors, he's Dr. Joe Dispenza. He always says you can't create a future based on your past. So you do. When you're letting go of that past, you can create that new future.
You don't live in the past. You don't live in the future. You have to focus on the here and now, because that's what you can change. You can't change the future or the past. You literally can't. What you have control over is what's going on right here, right now, in this moment. Even if it's so uncomfortable, you might feel comfortable trying to manifest the future, but you're doing no good if you're not focusing on the here and now.
Bingo. You gotta focus on the generous present moment. And when we're sinking into things like fear or stress or fear, what my guides always tell me, fear is just an unneeded and unnecessary emotion. There is no need for us to fear anything in life, not even death. So because we are infinite, right? When we're looking at who we are as an energy body, we are infinite. Our energy never dies. So we should never even fear death. So my guides always tell me, when you're worried, you're thinking about the past, but when you're stressed, you're thinking about the future. Let it go is what my guides always tell me. Yeah. Stay in the now.
I'm telling you, I had an epiphany, literally, when I was getting ready for this show, and I was like, I've been so negative. I'm like, let me open it up. And I opened up that dark room between my eyes. When I closed my eyes, that darkness, that dark room is my third eye. And the intent lit everything up. I'm like, here we are. Because, the thing is, I've been ignoring it. I know what to do, but if you don't put the steps into motion, I tell everyone, and always have and always will, yes, you can manifest things, but you have to put work into that. It doesn't have to
do the action. You got to do the action.
Yes, absolutely.
Because through manifesting something different from what you've been used to, you have to have change. To have change, you have to acknowledge and realize what's going on and where you want to be. And so, and I do, just by my nature, I get so down sometimes, and I can't help but do that. Yeah. And I do backtrack. I do get negative. I mean, I'm a human being. I'm a person like everyone else, but man, when I realize what's going on and I have those moments and I stay true to my higher self and I listen to that versus anything else going on, it feels great. Yes. And I shared with you guys earlier, like I posted notes everywhere. It's like,
doing your post-it notes.
I was like on fire when I was getting ready because I did that clearing. I'm like, first time, because I was worried about, because I haven't had any connection with spirit, anything in a while. Well, duh, they're gonna, pardon my French, me when I'm like in a place where they don't want to be at, Right. It was just like I'm just supposed to feel. I'm a feely person. I'm supposed to connect with energy. And when I allow it, it helps people, it helps myself. That's my purpose. And it's okay to be over emotional as long as I'm directing that towards the right purpose.
Right. Right. And we as humans, I mean, we're going to have those moments where we are going to be over emotional or we are going to sink into our emotions. But the biggest thing is okay, when you do that, how are you going to lift yourself up out of it, right? And keep moving forward instead of, because what happens is, say in the morning, say things just aren't going right. And then what you say is, well, it's going to be that kind of day, right? So you just, what you did then is you just set the momentum for your day, right? So it's really important and say, you know what? My day is going to be awesome going forward. Instead of stopping and saying, well, it's going to be that kind of day, right? Because we don't, I mean, you want to manifest that awesome life that you really want to manifest. But it is about looking at what are we thinking every day? What are we feeling every day with those thoughts and being aligned with them and having them be coherent. Again, you have to have the right thought with the right feeling to manifest what you really want.
Before you even get out of bed. When I was really studying hard on the law of attraction at that time, it was just like, don't get out of bed and see if they have 10, 15, 20 things you are grateful for in your space only. I am so grateful my blinds don't have that sunshine in it. I'm grateful my sheets are crisp and clean, because what you do is you set the intent of positive into that day so far.
Yes. Yes. And I love that because I sit and I'll just feel it in my heart chakra. Now, I will tell you, like, even for yourself, how you were talking about feeling, there was a while there, I realized as an empath, oh my God, I could feel everybody else's stuff, but I couldn't feel my own. And I realized it's because I wasn't allowing myself to feel anything because I was trying to protect myself. So then what I started doing is in the morning, I would sit and just focus on my heart chakra. And I would say, I am safe. I am safe to be me. I am safe to express my wants, needs, and desires. And I'm safe to feel. And it was even, I had to say it to myself, I'm safe to have gratitude. I love that. I do a thankful journal every morning. I love that too. That's a good way to do it too.
You're so positive. That's what I like about you. Just you're an influential person in my life. I do have to stop for a second.
Yep.
Barbara Jean Owens. I have 2 moms and 2 dads, and I love them also equally and wonderfully. One of my moms is in here tonight. Barbara Jean, tell her hello, because she is an amazing woman. And I just wanted to say hi. I didn't want to let it go through. And everyone in the chat, thank you so much. We are seeing it. I'll try to put it up there. And if you have any questions at all for Jennifer, for Stephanie, or for myself, just put it in there and we will definitely get to it. Okay. But thank you guys.
I haven't figured out how to get to the comments yet because I got to the private chat. But I'm like, if I see your question on there, I'll answer it as much as I can.
It'll look different
on the top. Do you see on the top where it says private chat?
Yeah.
Oh.
Over to the other side, it will say comments.
Comments. And I scrolled down. How do you actually type in the comments?
Down at the bottom.
Oh. Is my screen like just
it says post a comment? Yeah, if you have the full screen. I don't know.
Does that show on the guest side?
There we go.
I am tech challenged, so
I'm not usually tech challenged, but today I'm like, I can't even comment, but I will do the best that I can. I guess if you ladies see a question that I can answer, let me know.
Of course. And so
there must be a reason that the universe is like, no, we don't want you to type it. We want you to say it.
We want you to speak it.
It has more resonation that way.
That's how I look at everything. I'm like, there must be a reason. There must be. My guide's telling me right now, Steph, because you have to say it. There's energy behind it. So
there is.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Okay.
I'll just go with it.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited. Both of you ladies are just, I mean, I really look up to both of you. You are doing such monumental things and connecting in the right way and really staying true and fighting through the hard times and being genuine. And I really appreciate knowing y'all. I need to tell you that. I don't even know if I tell you enough, Jennifer. Like, I really appreciate your genuine selves because it's important. Like, it's a positive impact on me getting to talk to you guys because I'm so emotionally all over the place because the way my energy comes to me, it's a grounding. So, like, it's great to have that. And I hope everyone out there like struggling with emotion sometimes can have someone they can turn to. And if not, guys, these ladies are available.
Yes. Yes. You can always connect with me. You can connect with me through Facebook. You can send me a message. You can send me an email. You can call me, whatever you need. And then, because like I said, I still do readings and stuff too. And I know Jen still does readings. So connect with either one of us. I always tell people, go to the person that you are drawn to, because they are going to deliver the message in the highest and best way for you.
Hey, let's talk about that. I saw the video that you did the other day about that.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Do you want to recap that for us? Like, I was watching that video and I was just like, every single one of those is spot on, and I loved it.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so I made a list. My guide had me make a list, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, I tried to throw it away and he wouldn't let me throw it away. And now I see
There's a reason.
So like they're just like, what I did in this video is I basically capped like 4 tips about going to a mediumship reading, because what I found is a lot of people have expectations when they go to a mediumship reading or a psychic medium, and they think it's like the movies where things are going to be moving, lights are going to be flickering. It's not like that at all, right? So what my first tip is, really, like I said just a second ago, is go to where you are drawn. Whatever psychic medium you are drawn to, go there, because they are going to deliver the message that's needed for you in only the way they can deliver it. So you got to just go to that medium. I mean, the other thing too, like number 2 on my list was be open-minded. There are some people, what happens when you're not open-minded, especially when you encounter a skeptic, and believe me, I've had skeptics walk away as believers. I have. However, what happens when you are not really sure about a psychic medium, or does that really work, or any of that? What happens is you create that energy of doubt, and that gets carried over to the psychic medium, because they're sensitive to energy, right? So it's going to get carried over to the psychic medium. You are not going to get what you're looking for.
You bring that energy in,
right?
And it's very easily picked up,
right? It puts that wall up. And then the third thing that I have is, it is important for people when they go to a psychic medium reading to release expectations, because I have had loved ones, they won't step forward. A lot of times I have to ask people, who are you here to talk to? Like even tonight when I did a reading, there were so many loved ones behind this woman, but none of them were really stepping forward. And I said, I see a lot of loved ones, but who do you really specifically want to talk to? Because they're really not stepping forward. And I have noticed sometimes they want to just let you live your life to the best of your ability, rather than being disruptive or anything like that. And she said, well, I want to talk to my dad. And with that, he stepped forward and said, what can I tell her? So the other thing too, the last one is, it is going to be important for people to believe, because again, if you have that doubt or that disbelief, and I believe on my video, I used an example of a woman who came to me because she wanted to talk to her sister. And I realized that she didn't believe in a higher power. And I had to ask her that. I said, do you believe in a higher power? Do you believe that your loved ones still exist when they die? And she looked at me and she said, no, they really don't. And I don't really think that they do. So for me, it was like trying to tune in to a really fuzzy dial. And it was like, I could hear things like, it was just coming in like really, really faint. The only way I was able to get her message is, finally her sister looked at me and said, will you just hug her in a certain way for me? And I said, sure. So I went up and I hugged her in this way that her sister instructed me to. And when I got done with the hug, I leaned back and I looked at her, and she said, oh my God, my sister's the only person that hugs me that way. And then all of a sudden the tears just started pouring. And I think it finally clicked for her that her sister still existed.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes, you're right. I feel sometimes it's because they didn't step forward in their life. So why would they now? That's actually a really good example. So another reading that I did one time, a woman, she was really upset with her father because he wasn't a stellar man. He just wasn't. And so what she wanted, her expectation, again, coming back to that release expectations, her expectation was that her father was supposed to ask for her forgiveness. That was her expectation.
Right.
So her father looked at me and said, I can't give her any messages at this time, because he was no longer in that space of anger or resentment or anything like that. What he really wanted was for her to let go of the anger and the resentment for herself. And then he had messages for her, but he looked at me and said, but she's not going to get them. So he just
Right.
refused to talk.
They're
Yeah.
not in a space to be able to accept that. Spirit knows so much. They know so much more than we do. So when we go back to this, having an open mind,
Right.
when we step into a reading, and releasing those expectations, somebody, just like you were saying, might expect somebody specific to come forward. Instead, somebody else comes through.
Yeah.
And those actually happen to be, in my experience, some of the best readings, because those messages that the unexpected person in spirit brought through were so needed. And somehow, some way, it always seems to connect the dots back to this person they really wanted to speak to.
Exactly.
Those are mind-blowing for me. Like, I love that when that happens. So you do have to release the expectations, because I fully believe spirit knows what we need to hear.
Sometimes it's not even their loved one that steps forward. It's like an angel or a guide that'll step forward, and they'll just deliver a message, and they'll have the expectation that they want to talk to their dad or their uncle, their sister. So you're absolutely right, Jen. Yes, for me, I can, and I'm pretty sure that Jen can too. Can any of you ladies feel when someone is sensitive? Yes.
Well, yeah, it's a question. Absolutely. Even when they don't know it.
Well, it comes through in your it comes through in their energy, like the same way that you would walk into a room, right, and maybe know this person is kind of aggressive just because you feel it in their energy. You feel the same with people that are sensitive. It's just the energy around them just shifts a little bit, and you just pick up on that. So that's the long answer, and the short answer is yes. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. We can. We absolutely can.
Yeah.
Because then we can give them the guidance they need at that time too.
I've had conversations with people, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, you're a sensitive, like you are so sensitive, because typical quote unquote, let's say average normal people, I don't even know how to call it, the way your words are, your questioning, your experience, your energy, like you're on a path, like explore it and see where it takes you, and ask for guidance when you need it, because it's
Yes. That's actually a good point to bring up, because it's really important. It's really important. It's really important to, like, when you're looking at your journey, go where you are drawn. So if you feel, if you feel like you want to go towards oracle cards or tarot cards or anything like that, then go in that direction and just see where it leads you and see where it takes you. It doesn't mean that that's where you're going to be for the rest of your life. It just means that it's a step. So take, for example, for myself, and I'm sure Jen's had the same journey. For me, I started out being a Reiki practitioner. I had no idea where that was going to lead me. I just knew I had to go in that direction. And then all of a sudden my mediumship started opening. And so then I started talking to people's chakras and talking to their body parts and talking to angels and talking to guides and talking to, multi-dimensional beings and multi-dimensional spaces and all this other stuff. I had no idea where all this was going to lead me. And I remember my guide even looking at me saying, Stephanie, you're going to be guiding other light workers. And I remember at the beginning of my journey, I went, I don't think so. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing. Like,
I'm trying to figure this out. My journey actually was backwards. Isn't that interesting?
Was it really? I have
I started communicating with spirit first. Like, that just happened. And then I got into like some cards. Like, I wanted to experiment with all the things, right? And then into the energy healing and the different things. But yeah, mine went backwards.
Well, I will say for me, I had an afterlife experience. So it started me in this direction of like, okay, I remember when I kind of started remembering my afterlife experience, I realized in one instant, I had looked down at my body and all I saw was this beautiful glowing light. I didn't see a physical body.
Wow.
And I remember even the day it happened to me, I was going up into that proverbial tunnel of light. And I remember thinking to myself, no, I do not. I'm not ready to go. This is not. I'm dying in the physical therapy room. Is this really the case? Because that's a different story. But I'm sitting there thinking, no, this isn't what I want to do. And I slid back into my body. But when I had that remembrance, that's what kicked it off. Like I just started. Now I will tell you, it took me about 6 years after that to really start embracing myself because I kept fighting it and fighting it and
Yeah.
fighting. Right? Because I was an IT person. My logic was like trying to take over everything. And so then in 2016, I had another near-death experience. And so then I was like, I came back and I had to just become a Reiki practitioner. Like I felt so driven. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know what is happening to me right now. So that's what kind of kicked off all of that. Otherwise, I mean, I went to 5 different mediums just so they could tell me I was normal and I could continue my normal life. But they
That's what I want.
no, Steph, you're a medium. You got to suck it up, Buttercup. Like, what do you want to do now? What do you want to do?
So I'm just reading the comment that's pinned there. And Steph was actually talking about the fact that I believe that every single one of us, we have inside of us everything that we need. So wondering if you are.
Yes, you are.
Yes, absolutely. We all are. It's just learning how to develop it and learning how to tap in and learning actually what you want to do with it. You don't have to do what I do or do what Steph does or you just, for your own self, every single one of us have that.
In Facebook, a user, if you're comfortable, they just have that last comment on there. If you don't mind, like typing your name in there. If not, it's okay. You can absolutely. You have to give StreamYard permission to use your name. I'm just wondering if it's Helen because I have a coworker that has been really watching the shows and learning something. Let's see.
Hi, Scott.
Hey, Scott's here. But there's another Facebook user that says, I'm sorry, guys, let me just put my glasses on. Oh, my gosh. We fight it every day. My daughter, Jeanette, is more than I am. They take to her. She's more open. She's more in alignment with that energy. It's anybody, I think, can get there. You just have to go through the process and the spiritual growth and awakening and awareness kind of in a way. Does that make sense?
Right. And well, look, you could look at it this way too. So, when we're looking at like the basis of an empath, the empath is just the foundation to a psychic or a medium, right? So when we're looking at people who are, say, like an animal empath or something like that, like they really just love animals. What happens sometimes is they become veterinarians. They become people who take care of pet shelters and things like that. Even if you want to shift over to something like an earth empath, they are people who are like, the term just left my brain. But like it just left my brain. Like, oh, thank you. My guide's like environmental engineer. Yes, that's the one. I'm so glad I have him. But like people who are environmental engineers and things like that, they are sensing that energy, but they're doing what they can to help in the way that they can. They don't have to be like myself or Jen or anything like that. They can be, I can say you can even be a banker and you still bring healing to people just by delivering them a message that maybe they needed to hear that day.
Right.
Right? Just by the way you say things, just by your voice and by the way you carry your energy.
Well, you do know that I'm wanting to get back up to Montana and I'm thinking about planning a girl trip.
That would be fun.
I know. I miss being up there. I found something really amazing there, which is you. I met you because the first time I went to Montana, I met you. And the second time I went to Montana, I got to see you. But just in general, the energy's good up there. Your energy's good. And I think we should do like a retreat maybe one weekend or something.
Yeah, we could try it out. I'm always like, whatever. I just say whatever. I go with the flow of the universe.
Yeah, you're like, what if it works?
Yeah.
So, and your husband, like, Oh, you were talking about your husband earlier before the show, and I was just like, I remember when we went out to eat and everything. Y'all are such a great couple. Like he
I
compliments.
love him. You know, he does not understand what I do, not one bit. Like, if we have any experiences in our house, he'll just give me the look like, "Is that dead people?" And then he'll just like pass it off because he's an electrical engineer, right? So he's super logical, but he is more intuitive than he really gives himself credit for. But he's so cute when it comes to anything. If I predict anything, well, this is one of my favorite stories. One time we went over to Helena, Montana, because they have a Hobby Lobby there, right? Because we wanted to go to Hobby Lobby. We had him, it was my husband and his friend, both very logical people, right? So we park, there's nobody in the parking lot. My husband goes, I wonder, it's not the day. Don't they do that religious thing? But it's not the day for that. And all of a sudden I hear my guide say, well, they're doing inventory. And what I do is I just blurt out whatever my guide says 99.9% of the time. And I said, well, they're doing inventory, right? So we walk up, they looked at me and said, no, that's not what they would be doing today. So we walk up to the door, and lo and behold, there's a sign on the door that says doing inventory. They both turned around and they both looked at me and didn't say a word to the restaurant. Not a word. They were both like, what the hell just happened?
We got a good question here. Dead people, but how do you know they are talking to you? What do you say?
Here's how, well, go ahead, Jen, if you want to answer that too. I'm sure it works the same way for you. Honestly, if it's not something I was previously thinking about, then it's from dead people. That's how I look at it, because it's like, if, like, say, for example, I'm thinking about, maybe I'm thinking about my grocery list or something like that, and all of a sudden I hear, oh, you got to call Jen. You got to call Shannon. I'll be like, oh, that's a message from spirit right there. Like, it's not, it's because it comes faster than the speed of light, and it's not something that was even in my brain previously.
And it's something like you've always known it just to spit it out, correct? Because I've had that happen when I was working with a veteran one day. It was just like the lyrics came out of my mouth of a song, and everything was coming out. It's something that had nothing to do with me, but it's like I said it a million times.
Right.
And it was supposed to come out verbally.
And I realized early, like, when I started walking this path, I realized that I had been doing that my whole life. I just didn't realize it. And I'm sure it's the same for Jen. Oh, I think you're on mute. Oh, she's still on mute. Oh. Oh.
Laryngitis.
Here we go. Yay.
I was on mute, but yeah, I was just going to say, absolutely, it's the same for me. Hindsight is crazy, right? Because when I think about the beginning of this journey, or what I would consider the beginning, it really wasn't the beginning, because in hindsight, I can look back and I can say, oh my gosh, I understand this now. I understand this from when I was a child, and you understand certain things. So
yes.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. But just exactly what Steph said, that's how you know when they're talking to you. They just kind of come in. But there's also intentional, right? There's also intention. When I'm doing my readings, and I'm intentionally reaching out, you just know. And for me, I feel it in the energy. We're really translating energy into the spoken word, into something that we understand. So for me, I feel it in the energy, and then it comes out as words or feelings, or sometimes it comes out as a picture, right? And then I'll describe the picture. So we just feel it. I feel it in the energy, which I know is really broad, but that's the best way that I can explain it. And then I translate that energy into what we can understand.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it works for me too. This one says, oh, that's so interesting. Sometimes I get a gut feeling and go with it, or think about a person and they call or message. Is that kind of what it is? It is. It's a knowing. You get that knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That gut feeling is what I call an emotional guidance system. Intuition
Yes.
is just as important as being a psychic medium. If you're gifted with intuitivity, and especially if you're an intuitive empath, I mean, these are just levels of the stages you go through for enlightenment, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely, like, don't ignore that and focus, like, exercise with it, practice it,
Right.
hone it
And
in.
right. Yeah. And your solar plexus is actually kind of where your empathic center is. So when you are getting that gut feeling, that's your empathic senses kind of kicking in.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they call it the gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Did we
I
lose
miss
Glenn?
you. Man, I do. I miss you. And you look great, by
I
the
miss
way.
you too. Thank you so much.
Better than I've seen you in a long time. I bet you haven't always looked great, but you just have this glow about you tonight, and I like it.
I have been feeling amazing. You know, like I said, I've been doing a lot more inner work on myself, inner healing, or if people want to call it shadow work, I've been doing all of that. So it's been an amazing journey, a really amazing journey. I
Well,
love
it shows. You can see it
Thank
on you.
you.
I'm sitting there, like, just being around you makes me just smile, and it always has. But like tonight, like, I can just feel the energy shift, and it's great.
Oh, I love that. I love it.
So
Just
that's the other thing, Steph. You were just saying you'd been doing a lot of work. Like the work never ends, right?
doesn't.
It's an ongoing process. It's ongoing. And sometimes in my process, I find myself maybe slipping a little. Like Shannon was saying earlier, I haven't been grounding. I haven't been doing the things.
Mhm.
And I have to catch that, because I can feel it in my energy. I'm a little more sluggish, or my readings aren't coming through just,
Right.
the way that I feel that they should.
Yeah.
Or I feel a little bit negative or depressed or lethargic or whatever it might be. And I have to really look into, am I taking care of myself?
Yes.
All the ways,
Important.
spiritually, emotionally, physically.
Yeah.
And I have to find that balance. And I do slip backwards.
Yeah.
And then
I get it.
pick up and
Human beings in this body, it's natural. And I get that so much. It's just like, I literally had the epiphany today that I've been always in this world of chaos, not so much chaos like it's been at times, but no matter what, I'm connected to chaotic energy. And I really need to, I had this biggest epiphany. I need to start embracing that chaotic energy, and how can I help it? Like with other people, it's there for a reason. You don't just have that, like, without, even when I have the best of days, I'm drawn. It's just, that makes sense to you, right? Like, it's just like, I know now that instead of just trying to fight it and stay away from it, see what good I can bring into it instead of complaining about it. So,
well, and what I've noticed too in my own journey, and I'm sure that you guys have noticed this too, there's always a new level of growth. Always. Absolutely. So when I first started my journey, that's one level of growth, right? And then when I started into doing a new path, like when I started working on people's like belief systems and things like that, and becoming a spiritual empowerment coach, all new levels of growth. And then the next level of growth for me, like I said, was when I had that medical diagnosis last year. I remember my guy looking at me and he said, Stephanie, you created this for yourself so that you could go into a new level of growth. And at first I was like thinking to myself, why the hell would I create a medical diagnosis for myself? And he said, you wanted to go deeper and you wanted to dive in deeper to your own inner healing so that you could learn more to help others. And I went, that totally makes sense. But I really had to dive deep. I missed a question. There was a question up there.
Is that the one?
There is. But
I like that question.
Helen. I can tell.
Over the internet readings without the person there. Oh, energy is energy.
Right? Energy is fluid. Energy is fluid. So really you're just tapping in, you're tapping into the energy, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter where your sitter is.
Nope, they could be on Mars.
You're tapping into the energy. Energy is fluid. Energy can be here, and it can also be 1,000 miles away at the same moment.
Yep.
Well, and I don't know. This is how I look at it too. I don't know if this would be helpful for this person, but I look at it as we're all one, right? We're all connected to this energy. And when I meditate, a lot of times I'll see all of the energy, how we're all connected to each other. So it doesn't matter if we do a reading from someone in Florida, they could be on Mars, they could be on Pluto. They could be outside the galaxy in another dimension. We could still do a reading for them. We are multidimensional beings. So
Yes.
that energy, we are connected to all things within the universe. And it doesn't matter if it's a tree, if it's a plant, if it's a person, if it's a stone, we are connected to every single bit of it. We are connected to the multi dimensions, everything. That's beautiful when you think about it.
That's why crystals have so much, like, people use them and utilize them. They have their own energy, a plant, a blanket, a sheet of paper. Everything is made up of energy. It's like one of the only things that never goes away. It just changes form. And so that's it, when you can tap into that energy, it's honest, mostly honest and true. Like, it's honest if you can see past the sometimes, craziness, but yeah, it's it'll never go away. It'll change forms, but everything, my monitor behind my laptop right now, it has energy. Everything in this universe is nothing but energy. Angels, source, God, everything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I tell people sometimes, and like, how do I start it? I'm like, read The Law of Attraction, just to understand energy first, by Jerry and Esther Hicks. Understand what energy is first, and then start your exploration. Listen to yourself, ask for your guides, find out how to find out who your guides are.
I will say one of my favorite meditations to do, it reminds me that the universe is always there. I like to close my eyes and I like to just feel the energy of the universe around my body. And you can start like with bits and pieces. If you want to start with your head, your nose, and then work your way down to your feet, I love that meditation for me, because it just lets me know that I'm constantly in that. Our bodies are made of that energy.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So I love doing that meditation because it just always helps me feel, oh yeah, the universe is right there. It's within me. It's all around me. Yeah. It's in everything I do. Love it. And don't be sorry for questions.
That's why I enjoy sitting in the power. It's for that feeling that you just described. Yep. Like you can just feel it, and that all of this energy and all of this power, this divine that's out here is also within you, and that sitting in the power connects the two, and that is one of my very favorite things.
Yes,
doesn't take very long.
It doesn't.
But it's just that feeling. Mm-hmm. So there was another question here.
Yeah. I hope I'm not missing any.
I'm going to pop it up here.
Thank you. Sorry if I missed one.
It says, how come they don't come to me when I take my family to see mediums? They get read or talked to by my parents. So the way I'm kind of reading that is that when you go as a group to a medium, are you feeling like the messages they're not coming through for you, but they're coming through for other people? That's the way that I'm reading it. But one thing I will tell you, and Stephanie, she probably understands this, but I'm sure she has more to add to it.
Go ahead.
Is that spirit comes through with these universal messages. So if you're sitting in a room with somebody, your parents come through, right? And there's a message that might be for your daughter or your son or whoever is sitting with you. You need to take from that message what you can as well. Spirit's very, very efficient, very efficient. When I do Facebook Lives, a message will come through sometimes that a lot of people can resonate because Spirit's efficient at what they do. So that's one thing that I want to tell you. And I also want to tell you that they do come to you. I mean, your loved ones, they're all around, and they do come to you. So I want to make sure, let's see, what does this say? Yes, I can bring them, but not get messages from them. You are getting messages. And I'm sure Stephanie can maybe help me explain this, but you are getting messages. Yeah. You may not be recognizing them, but you are getting messages.
Well, and I found sometimes it was really interesting because I have with some of my coaching clients, we do like a graduates group. And it was interesting because the other day I went around the room and my guide, Eric, he had a message for everybody else but one gal. And she even looked at me and said, but Eric doesn't have a message for me. And my guide looked at me and said, she doesn't need a message because she's already doing everything she should be doing.
No.
So that was really interesting. She looked at me and she said, really? I mean, she was fascinated by the fact that she was like, I am on the right path. I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And like Jen said, you are already getting the message. You are getting the message in the messages that are going around to your loved ones. Absolutely.
Yes.
So like she said, pay attention to the message they get, because that student actually got a ton of messages from what was delivered to the other people around her. Because I like to send out a message and say, okay, what was your biggest takeaway from our graduate session today? And that was her biggest takeaway, was all the messages that went around to everybody else, plus the fact that she didn't need messages because she was like, I'm already on that right path. I mean, it just let her know that she was already on the right path, that really she didn't need the messages, but there were other messages hidden in the messages that were for
Which
other
is beautiful.
Right. Yes.
So okay, I'm sorry. I was having trouble meditation, couldn't get past past my shoulder, and someone said, well, start from your toes. How do we control our thoughts? I think start from your, like right here.
Okay. Well, I can tell how I do this. And then maybe Jen can tell you how she does it. And even Shannon can tell you how she does it. Because I think everybody has a different way of meditating. For me, well, my guide wants me to start with this too. He says, the thing is too, when you start meditating, like I said earlier, it can be uncomfortable. However, it's also about looking at, a lot of us are always in that stress state. We're always in that fight or flight. And so when we're looking at our brain waves, we have what we call a high beta brainwave, a medium beta brainwave, and a low beta brainwave. So when we're in a high beta brainwave, that means we're in that fight or flight, and we are not focusing on anything. We're all over the map. We're all over our kitchen. We're all over our house. We're not doing anything, right? And so it's about getting it down into that low beta brainwave, or even the medium if you can. And the way that I do it is I like to focus on my heart chakra and expand it out, because when you take it from this very narrow focus to this expanded focus, what happens is it changes your brain waves, and so that you can actually get into that low beta brainwave so that you can be more coherent, if that makes sense. That's how I do it. So then I go right into meditation and I can move through all my chakras and whatever else I need to do. And I've even done it where I've started with points in my body and expanded out and just moved all the way down to my feet. Especially if my brain is really in a high beta brainwave and it's moving, I'll just start with my nose. And I'll feel the energy in my nose, and I'll expand out that energy so I can feel the infinite universe and see for me, I like to see everything. And then I'll go down like into my shoulders, into my heart, into my torso, into my legs and my feet. And I do the same thing and expand it out into the infinite universe so I can just expand my energy out. Because what's happened when we do that fight or flight, we bring all of our energy in and we suck it in because we're like, oh, I just need to be safe. So that's what I do. Yeah. So did I miss a question? I saw a few things flying up there.
Oh, that's the one I was just looking for, Shannon.
Okay.
I can give you a really, really quick exercise to do, because you can do this yourself. You really don't have to get to another level. You already have everything inside of you that you need to do this. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you a way that you can do this really quick. We were just talking about meditation. You can just sit with yourself, sit with your energy for a few minutes, take those 3 really deep cleansing breaths. And then you need to visualize. If you can visualize yourself in your favorite spot, just a spot that makes you feel comfortable. A lot of times it's, we see a lot of water, right? So let's just say you're walking to a park and there's a lot of grass and there's water and you see a bench. You can visualize yourself sitting on that bench and leaving room. And then you literally invite your loved one to come and sit with you.
I like that.
And you will feel them. And you may even see them walking across the park. And they will sit with you. And then you just speak to them. And you don't even need to speak to them. Sometimes just being in their presence, just for that moment, is absolutely amazing. But you can ask them the question. You can have that conversation. That's one way. I like to teach people that way because it's simple and it's very effective. And it might take you a couple of times. It might take you a couple tries to really get into that space where you can do that. But that is one way that you can do that.
Yep, that's a great way. I started with that way myself. Yep. It worked really well.
And we were getting close to the end, and we still have a few more comments to get to, so we're going to brush by these really quick, guys. My daughter, Joanne says, my daughter in 2017 and my husband in 2018, I get him all the time, but not my daughter.
Interesting.
Joanne, are you talking about, I was just going to tell you, I want you to try that. Are you talking about they're coming to you directly, or are you going through a medium for those connections? Because I feel like you could make this connection for yourself. Try the exercise that I just talked about. You may have to try it a couple of times. But you're going to be able to, in time, even feel her energy and feel her presence, and you can have those conversations for yourself. So I would suggest that you try that.
And trust that and know that.
And trust it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Trust that process.
Give them that welcome that you are okay with what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah, I always invite spirit to come in, and then I invite spirit to come closer, and then I invite spirit to initiate this conversation with me. So try it.
And then I feel them, and somehow my dad gives me messages. I hear him tell me things out of nowhere. Of course.
That's beautiful.
Messages for you. Those are messages, and let's see. I see light. That's where I'm at when I know that I'm connecting on a higher level and where I'm supposed to be, is when, like, I make jokes about it, but when you close your eyes, I call that space behind your eyelids the dark room. And sometimes I have to go, and when that behind your eyelids, everything brightens up. It's a beautiful thing. So, like, it means you're connecting to a higher source. Let's see. And with the fast pulse, let's see. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get to them. Thank you guys for commenting. My son's trying to come in. How come I haven't heard or received anything from my parents since they passed?
I will say, and this is what I feel like I'm intuitively picking up, but I will say that sometimes grief can stop us from picking up messages from our loved ones. Sometimes they're there. I mean, I feel like I see them trying to talk to you, but it's like right now your grief is just kind of dampening the message coming in. Oh, okay.
The light vibrates. There we go.
Yeah.
Guys, and thank you so much for being interactive, guys, tonight. And Stephanie, how can people reach out to you if they want to talk to you more?
You can reach out to me. I mean, you can go to my website. It's at stephaniecox.com, StephanneCox @gmail.com. And yeah, so all my contact information is there, so you can get a hold of me and you can see all the things that I do and what I charge for sessions and everything. Awesome. Or you can reach out on Facebook. Absolutely.
Yep. Both of you ladies are definitely, good people to reach out to. And Stephanie, you gotta like this, like, no matter what, we've always had such a positive experience. Even when I was going through stuff, like, I knew when I got through talking to you, you helped me ground and realize it was way more simpler. It's like, and that's the thing. It's like, sometimes we make things so worse than they are because we don't know how to react, and then.
Oh, I'm so blessed to have you in my life, Shannon. You
Like,
too, Jen. I just love your energy, and I always love when you guys are doing these videos.
well, we just want to make.
I know we're close to the end, but can I answer this?
Yes.
I would like to answer this question. Really.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I think it's just the way that it's worded. I haven't grieved right yet. There's no right way to grieve.
Mhm.
There's no right way, honey. You just have to take you grieve your way and in your time. So please don't worry about not grieving right.
No.
Because there is no such thing.
No.
Yeah. Nobody can make, break, or change the way your emotions are. And I'm learning that a lot right now. Like, be in that moment. They're there for a reason. You're feeling what you're feeling for a reason. And go through that and love it and embrace it, because it's part of who you are. It's part of who they were, no matter the situation.
Yes.
And something else that I always like to say is sometimes you just ask. You know, I've
Yes.
had people that come to me and they're like, my loved one isn't coming to me. Have you ever? And I will say to them, have you asked them? Well, no, I guess I haven't. I just thought they would come. And they will, but there's nothing wrong with just asking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and here's the thing too, like when you are going through grief, it is important to be patient, loving, and kind with yourself. And like I said, it does put a dampener. It doesn't stop it. It does put a dampener on it. And like Jen said, just ask. That's important. The other part too is pay attention to your external world, because if they can't get you something in your internal world, they're going to start sending messages in your external world in some way, shape, or form. It could be through anything. It could be through a song. It could be through a conversation that you're just overhearing. It could be even through a Facebook post. My mother has gotten Facebook posts to me and all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, it's just about really being conscious of that external world, because sometimes, our sadness and our grief can make it so that it's a little harder. It's not impossible, but it can make it a little harder. It doesn't mean that you have not grieved in the right way. It's just about you loving and being compassionate, kind with yourself. And when your grief is going to subside, it's going to subside. Again, it's all in divine timing. Everything has divine timing.
Yes. And the other thing is that signs and messages can sometimes be very subtle. Sometimes we're looking for the great big something, right? And we're overlooking the subtle messages and the subtle signs that are being sent. So I always encourage people, just like Stephanie said, to just kind of take a look at what's going on around you. What are you hearing? What's happening? Because again, they're very subtle.
Right.
I do too.
Stella, okay, again, people just tuning in. Stella, a very wonderful new sister of mine that I met in Colorado. She was put in my life, in my path for a purpose. Like, we ended up meeting up before the whole retreat even started. We had some moments, and she made me buy this hat for $10 at a store. And I'm like, but it's I was just making every excuse. And then, like, I told her tonight, I was like, I'm going to wear it tonight. I'm getting out of my comfort zone, and I want to do it for you, because she, gave me a little boost. So, but thank you guys. And thank you everyone for joining. It's been wonderful. And
thank you guys for bringing me on the show. I loved it.
I enjoyed this show so much, and definitely you're going to be back. I'm so glad for you two ladies. Y'all are very monumental in my life, and because I'm the inquisitive, what the hell person, and y'all like help me with answers, like, and that's important. We, like you said, just ask for help, seek out guidance, and y'all mean a lot to me. Y'all help me understand some things, and sometimes you give me the tools that I don't hear it till later, but it's important just to have that fundamental basis of support. So guys, thank you for watching. Thank you, Stephanie. Reach out to Jen and Steph. Like, I'm telling you that they're amazing, and you can't go wrong with either one of them. They're both beautiful, wonderful souls that are here with the purpose to be there for you. So,
thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shannon.
Oh, I mean that.
Jen. Yes.
All right. So any other final words real quick?
I think that's it.
I think that is.
We're already running,
late.
questions.
I know. We went over. there's a few more questions, but there's
That's okay.
more like thank you ladies and stuff like that. But guys, thank you for being interactive. And I just hope that we maybe delivered a message that might have resonated. Share it out. Maybe there's someone that's going to pick up on it when they're supposed to, maybe 6 months down the road going through your Facebook page that might need a message or just some positive comment that was said. So with that being said, thank you again. I don't have my board. It's in the other room with who's next week. I'm sorry. But love you guys. And it's very much appreciated that you guys watched this tonight. And give me a second because, I'm always delayed on getting these videos going. All right. Good night, you guys.
Good night.